Okay. So, Steve, this is so great. You and I, we've been working together for almost, I think, 2 years now, and we've done some great stuff. And we've got what I'm calling a bit of a reboot or a relaunch, and really this refocus of where we feel we can help small business owners, a certain part of the segment of the small business owners, really kind of take it to the next level. So, I'm pretty excited. I know you are, and two of the deliverables we're working at is one is how we help business owners triple the value of their business. And then the other is how we help them remove themselves from the day to day. So basically buying time, which as we know is even more valuable than the money itself, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah. So, we've got kind of similar backgrounds in one way and different and in another. And I thought before we got into our chat, I'd chat a little bit about myself, you chat a little bit about yourself, and then we can kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what we want to talk about today. How does that sound for you?
Yeah, that sounds great, man.
Great. So, we're both, I think we're about a year apart in terms of our age. So we've got the same, duration of professional experience. I started my career at advertising agencies and entrepreneurial marketing agencies in Toronto, up here in Canada. Did that for about 15 years. Then moved into economic development, where I helped communities grow, attract businesses, support businesses, really a lot of what we call retention and expansion. So how do we help businesses stay in business rather? How do we help them grow? I'm a serial entrepreneur myself. I've had a vineyard, I've had a wine tour business, coaching business, all that good stuff. And I've worked with a wide variety of clients, from mom and pop shops to big Fortune 500 companies like Unilever, Hostess, Frito-Lay, MCA, Universal. So some neat background that way. And I know you're a serial entrepreneur yourself. Why don't you share with our group a little bit about your background?
Yeah, I've been creating stuff basically since I was a kid. Used to build custom bicycles, got into adulthood, and started a power wash business when I was younger before they were retail units. And that was really my first foray into a real business. I've never really worked for anybody else for the most part. I've started an information business. I was in telecom for a while, which is a fun way to say I installed cable and telephone and did some electrical work. The construction was, my dad was a building trades instructor. He was a builder as well, and never really thought I was gravitating towards anything he was related with, but I ended up there, and I ended up in the stone business in 1995, and grew that. And in 2002, we split off of an entity, and by 2008, we had 4 entities running. By 2012, we had 7 entities running underneath a parent company. And those were all very symbiotic in nature. They were all manufacturing of building products. We had a construction company, we had a masonry supply company, and there were some cabinets involved in there, and there were some other things. And also, as a part of that, because we needed, as manufacturers, we need real estate. That's what we need. And so ended up hiring a real estate broker, and got into, we sort of a real estate business as well. Historical restoration, all of those things, and pretty much anything related to residential, commercial, government, municipal construction, we got to be a part of. And it was just a lot of fun. In 2012, these 7 companies needed a specific kind of help that I just couldn't hire. I just wasn't successful at. And so I went out and bought a company that specialized in marketing and software development. And we kind of, one of the guys that we hired was a bit of a mad scientist. He built robots and created the programs. And so I bought this company, gutted their product. It wasn't really successful, and And we built a company to support the other companies that we had. We ended up buying a building downtown on a busy intersection. Of course, when you buy a building, you put signage out, and then people started walking in our door. What do you guys do? What do you guys do? And so we really got into ideation, which is another fun way to say we worked with a lot of startups who had ideas and they didn't know what to do from there. And so a lot of fun from developing that idea to our tagline was your business or your idea developed and launched. And through that process, we learn a whole lot about accounting and funding, obviously marketing, and how to resource materials and manufacturing for other products and that sort of thing. And it helps you to identify the owner, what they're thinking, what their skill sets are, and conversely identify their gaps, right? And so that led us into consulting, which led us into coaching. And frankly, coaching is where we've been able to have the most impact.
That's great. And, you know, you and I are at the age now where our contemporaries is starting to ask the question, right? You know, a little Shakespearean to exit or not exit. And, you know, that's where a lot of owners are going. And the beauty is now the question is a little bit rhetorical, meaning it's not so much about exiting, but looking at one's business as an investment or as part of your investment portfolio, you know, and maximizing its value, whether you sell it or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's kind of something that we've really hit on. So, you know, some folks might even ask, you know, why go to all that trouble to get my company ready for sale if I'm not even going to sell it? You know, which is, you know, I think it's a good question to ask. But, you know, the simple answer is if you go through that process, you know, you could easily double or triple the value of your business, whether it's worth 250K up to 750K, or, you know, I know in your world, you and I were chatting a week or two ago about going from, you know, 1.3 to 4.5, that kind of thing. So, you know, Steve, I think where we want to go now is to share a little bit more about what's possible. You know, how can a construction or a roofing company, for example, be worth, you know, X today and 3X in a year or a little bit longer? You know, what are the key factors? And maybe you just want to kind of take us through that a little bit. We were just talking about KPIs and another way to look at things. You and I have talked a little bit about EBITDA, and you've got another lens. So why don't you kind of like high level, I know there's sort of 5 steps, but why don't we just start with kind of step 1 in terms of, you know, where does one start and why? And then we'll talk again next week and we'll break it down even further to, you know, step number 2 and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I'd like to start by really just saying that it's not about the final exit. It's about being positioned to exit. And so, you know, I work with a large franchise organization, and you know, I work with, you know, quite a few offices that started off with a very much a trade mindset. You know, they're really good at their craft, as I like to call it. But they never really learned the technology. They never really learned the marketing. They never really learned how to manage a sales team, and among other things, and really pay attention to the language of business, which is accounting, right? As Warren Buffett likes to say. So, you know, I would say, you know, if you were a construction, roofing, plumbing, if you're in the trades, which is a space that I love to be a part of, you know, you could be making a nice living, right? In order to scale, if you are the sole practitioner of the trade and you have people that assist you, you can't scale. And which means you never have anything that builds value. So your asset, which is your business, and it should be an asset, is not increasing its value. Now, you may be producing more revenue year after year, but there comes a point where you can only do so much. And then, you know, this dreaded thing we call age starts to hit us. And,
Not for you and I though, Steve, not for
oh,
us.
yeah, I know a lot of tradespeople that, I was talking to a guy the other day that, he's been at this for 30 plus years. He's a restoration company owner. COVID really, really, really hit him hard. And, he's trying to figure out a way, and he's 76 years old. He's got some health challenges. He can't get on a roof, for instance. He doesn't see as good as he used to. These things happen. And he doesn't have anything to sell. And so after, I've been working with him now for 6, 8 months, and, we're building some value, what I like to call positioning. He's positioning so that, first of all, he doesn't actually have to sell. And that by the end of this year, he'll have a choice, because we're building a business that can operate without him. And so that when that knock on the door does come, and it always does, I'm here to tell you, I used to get letters in the mail every month, people looking to buy a business like mine, right? We all get those letters, most of us do. And he'll have a choice. So it's not about, like you probably heard people say, you should always operate your business like you're going to try to sell it, or like you're selling it. And that is true, but not literally true. It means that you should always be ready. Your accounting should be neat. You should have a team in place. Some of the things we're going to be talking about today, those things have to be there in order for you to be positioned either to pass the fishing test, as we like to call it. That's a fun way to say, if you can leave for 2 weeks at a moment's notice and go fishing, and your business operates without you, you've got an asset.
Yeah,
not a job,
that's
right?
great.
And so, can we 3x a business? Honestly, I would say we can 10x a business pretty easily if the owner and the people that are involved in that process are willing to really dig in and dive and just kind of follow some guidance. We're advisors, right? We don't tell you what to do. We suggest things.
Yeah.
And key factors in growing a business and having it and being ready for someone to come by are the same factors that's required for you to be able to become a passive owner, for you to be able to pass that fishing test.
Yeah.
And that is, your accounting has to be in order, because that's the language of business. That's how you can see from the front of your boat with your foot on the trolling motor. You can pull up your phone and you can see if your business is listing starboard or not.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But without good accounting, you'll never know.
Right.
The other thing would be, the leadership team and some of these things we're about to get into. So it's not that difficult. It does take a little bit of focus and honing in on these particular areas of business to accomplish that.
That's great. And we're definitely going to get into the accounting and some of the other things. Maybe you could talk a little, passive income, right? It's like the buzzword of the 21st century in terms of business. And I think basically what you're saying is, when you build a high performing team, that's where the owner can really take a step back. Maybe you want to talk a little bit more about, step one, and how do we get to this passive income from a high performing team perspective?
It's we call it a dream team, right? Truth is, what we want to do is establish a leadership team. And the leadership team, that doesn't mean it's a promotion. It doesn't mean that it's going to cost you a lot of extra money. The only real cost is you need to commit about an hour and a half a week to this team, preferably on a Monday, right? Not a Friday.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to meet on Fridays, but that's when we have the most absentees and everybody's brain dead, right? So Monday afternoons are perfect, actually.
Okay.
Everybody can get their stuff started, and you assemble this team. If you're familiar with the entrepreneurial operating system, they call it an L10 meeting in leadership team. That leadership team comes in, and it's a very structured meeting. It's not just a meeting. It's productive. Things happen. and people walk away with actionable items that have to be done prior to that next meeting. It's a great way to to grow your business, and it's a great asset when someone does come knocking at your door. If you have a leadership team, they're going to be interested in your business. If you don't, and you are the business, you don't have much to sell unless you've got a lot of assets, and very few businesses do. So I would say that, you know, the leadership team is probably, aside from quality accounting, is the number one thing that needs to be accomplished to grow your business.
So do you mean as a business owner, I gotta give up a little bit of control and step away from some of the day-to-day minute decision-making stuff?
And it is a beautiful thing. And it's important to remember that the people that actually do the work, or the closer you are to the customer, the more important it is that you're listened to.
Yeah.
The more important it is that you learn how to think, you learn how to make decisions, you learn how to kind of sort of backwards engineer your business to make sure that that customer is happy.
Sure.
Because if that customer is happy in 2023, in the age of reviews, that customer and that review will drive more business to you.
Sure.
And happy customers, honestly, that's a quality of life thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
When you know your customers love you, and you can walk around with your head held high. Not to mention the fact that you're growing a business.
Yeah, exactly.
Rapidly.
So beyond sort of the, you know, the phishing test, are you suggesting that, you know, among other things, but, you know, getting this leadership team in place, you know, when you've got the machine humming, and that's one of, you know, 4 or 5 key things that we get into, are you suggesting that as an owner, I really only need to spend an hour and a half or a week, or at some point in time, do I step away even further? What could people expect, you know, if they don't?
I would say, yeah, I would say yes. I mean, if I were to come into your business and we kind of assess the people, the roles, their performance, and it's important to know how people think. And by the way, we have tools to do assessments to kind of figure all this out. You don't need 10 people on your team. It could be 3.
Right.
If you only have 4 employees, make it all 4. That's fine. Give them the fact that they are trusted to be on a leadership team will improve your culture automatically.
Right.
Because that trust level, whenever an employee knows their boss trusts them, I don't even have to explain that, right? We can all feel it as soon as I say it. I know what that's like. So when you start recruiting, these people have input that probably they're more connected to the type of people you're trying to recruit than you are.
Sure.
Have an advantage there. They're going to start caring more about what they're responsible for. And by the way, there's a lot of accountability. There's some metrics that are going to be set and have to be met. But there's also a way for the team to discuss and solve problems. And the cool thing about the EOS method in the L10 meeting, and there's other structures out there that also work. They have what they call IDS, which is this leadership team meets, and part of their meeting time, the bulk of it, is to identify, discuss, and solve problems. And, you know, it may be something like when someone calls in, we have an automated answering machine. And, you know, these people that are talking to customers, one of the first things they're going to hear is, I just wish y'all would answer the phone instead of sending me to this automated thing, because no one likes that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not more efficient, and it costs you business. That's my opinion. So, but that's just an example of what gaps, what problems, challenges, issues that are discussed by this team, who all have a vested interest, right? I mean, you're getting 8 to 10 hours a day of their life. Now, they have a vested interest in deciding how to solve that problem, what they're willing to do to take the next step to ultimately make happy customers and cheerleaders who promote you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I'm a CEO of a small economic development agency, and I spent the last year instilling trust and accountability to the team. And I don't know 10% of the business detail that each of our
Right.
team members, and I don't need to, because they're competent, they're capable, they're accountable, they're making things happen. We have our own metrics to make sure things are going well. So, I mean, I spend
That's
my time,
exactly,
yeah,
yeah.
I spend my time on other things. I don't spend my time on running the day-to-day, right? Which is
that's right.
great. So that's great. I think it's a sort of a great start for us to talk about, kind of step number one, building the team. Next week, we'll talk about streamlining processes for efficiency. Is there anything you want to leave with folks on the team building aspect, or do you feel that we've covered most of it?
I would look to what you know and remove any preconceived notions that you might have. But in most large organizations, the one we see, read about, see on TV, or see in movies even, the CEO is not the operator of the business. The CEO is supposed to be, in most cases, a visionary. He's the chief cheerleader. In fact, in most cases, they are the top salespeople. They're the ones that fund and raise money and promote and also cast that vision. Because generally speaking, whether you're a founder CEO, or if you're a CEO that's been hired, you have a vision. That's why you're hired. You can impart that vision properly through culture building and other methodology. That COO is that operator. And so if I were to scale this down to a small business, the small business owner is the CEO, right? Sometimes they're also the operator.
Yep.
That's what we're trying to solve, because that's a problem.
Yes.
But first of all, an operator is considered, what's the term, Dan? I forgot, with an integrator. Okay.
Right.
So that CEO is this visionary money raiser. He may handle treasury and whatever else, treasury being banking relationships and things, but he's promoting the business and he's casting a vision and he's looking into the future. And frankly, he needs that time, he or she, to perform those duties, because those are duties.
Yeah.
That COO is the one that operates. And that's, in a small business, that would be called a general manager in most cases, right? And then you have these department heads, or it could be the guy that does this and the girl that does this, depending on how big your business is. That's fine.
Yeah.
But that makes up a team of people who are touching customers. Number one thing is customers. Always without customers, we wouldn't even be talking about this. And they know better what the customer wants without spending money on surveys and or even SEO metrics, right? Now, I'm not saying that's bad.
Yep.
If you really want to know what your customer thinks, have the person that touches them ask. And you will learn a lot about what you should do in your business. That's part of what makes them such a great leadership team.
Yep.
The other opportunity there is this is a chance to skill up your people. Meetings are good and meetings are bad. But when you learn how to have a really productive meeting, that everybody walks out with action items that they may be scared of or not, right? But they have them. And by golly, by that next meeting, they have to be done.
Yes.
Or the team talks about them, figures out where they need support so that they can solve that problem. And by the next meeting, it's done. Yeah. And you know what? The activities in your business start to snowball. These positive changes start to happen. At some point in this whole process, we're going to talk about compounding effect and how small improvements make up for big dollars down the road. Right? And we want to have that opportunity to teach your staff, to skill them up so that their thinking improves and grows along the way. If they're not growing, by the way, you're not growing.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. Well, Steve, we got a lot to talk about, but I think we've covered a lot for today's session. And I look forward to, coming back to this again next week, where we talk about streamlining processes for efficiency and many other things, so that you, I, and those business owners can go maybe get some smallmouth or some largemouth bass while we go fishing. How does that sound?
It'd be great. It'd be awesome.
Okay. All right, we'll see you next week. Take
All right.
care.
Hey, thanks, Dan.
All right. So that's we're building content. That's
pretty
that's sort of my next goal. So
Yeah.
when I finish this meeting, I'll have a recording, and then I may either release the whole thing. I'm definitely going to cut it into snippets. I haven't figured out if we'll do the whole thing or not, but we'll have the whole thing in our archives for later.
Yeah.
And then we can look at it too as part of our training material, right? What did we say? What do we want to tweak?
Right.
I'll send you the full Monty, so you have that. And
Do you have the tool that transcribes this?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay, good.
Yeah, so I can do that as well, no problem.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
I gotta head off to another meeting, but this has been great. This is what I've been waiting
Yeah.
for.
Good. Yeah, I need this because I got to do 4 training videos. So
There you go.
I need this.
Yeah, okay. And I'll share it with you once it's ready.
All right, Dan. Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right, see you.